It is officially winter time here on the farm, and the days are shorter and outside chores are definitely at a minimum. Although on the farm there's always some level of chores to get you outside every day, but in the wintertime, things move at a slower pace. And I really enjoy this season. It can be more peaceful and slower. The days are just shorter and seem easier, although winter certainly doesn't come without its challenges. This time of year, most of the chores get done first thing in the morning. And the very first thing that I do when the weather is so cold like it is today is get the tractor started. The diesel engine just really doesn't love starting up in the cold weather, so we try to keep it parked in the barn on the sunny side, and then we also put a block heater on the motor to just try to keep it as warm as possible, so that way it'll start every day so we can go out and feed the cattle hay. So while I'm doing little chores right around the barn, I try to get the tractor running and the motor nice and warmed up before heading out to feed the cattle. Even during the winter time, I try to let the chickens free range as much as possible. So in this time of year, I always give them a little bit extra to make sure that they're getting enough in their diet to keep laying eggs throughout the winter months. And then I always want to make sure to get out to the chicken coop first thing to collect the eggs, so that way they don't have a chance to freeze before I get them inside. I also found out that the easiest way to water my chickens this time of year is to keep their water in a rubber pan like this, so that I can easily knock the ice out and just fill it with some fresh water for them every day. That is a lot easier than trying to keep a water heater or a way to keep their water from freezing in the coop. I just find it's easier just to dump it out and give them a little bit of fresh water during the daytime before it has a chance to freeze again. We don't have electric in our chicken coop, but it is really well covered from the elements, and I always try to keep it bedded with plenty of shavings and straw, so that way they can stay nice and warm in there. Although wintertime is a slower time of year for us on the farm, we don't have near as much going on as we do during the summer months. Wintertime can still have a lot of challenges of its own, and when the weather is super cold or there's a lot of snow, it can seem like you're doing so much just to get the bare minimum amount of chores done. But fortunately here in Missouri, we typically don't have super cold or snowy winters. For the most part, we're relatively mild compared to other parts of the country or the world. So caring for livestock doesn't turn into a full-time job in the winter months like it can in some places where the weather is much more harsh. We have also done a lot on our farm with infrastructure and just management practices to make the winter time much easier for us as well. One of the management practices that makes our wintertime chores much easier is that we try to keep all of our cattle together in one big group, so that way we're not taking care of a bunch of little groups every day, but they're all in one herd. We do, however, have some yearlings sorted off right now that we are feeding separately, because these are some calves that we will be putting on feed to finish out later this summer for harvest. And we also have a group of cattle that are currently being finished for harvest this coming spring. But otherwise, all of our cattle, so the babies, the yearlings, the heifers, the cows, the bulls, are all together in one big group. And that's the group that we take the tractor out to every day and feed them hay. It is always so important this time of year to double check all of our drinkers and make sure that nothing is frozen. These drinkers are what they call frost-free drinkers, so they don't work with any sort of heating element or electric. They're just heated by the earth. And for the most part, they have been really great drinkers for us. But anytime we get a small amount of cattle on one, we always have to double check the water when the weather gets really cold like this, because the surface water on top will freeze over. So that's something I come out and do every morning, is just break the water back open so that this group of calves has plenty of water for the day. The horses this time of year just need a little bit of extra hay just to supplement what might be lacking in the pasture. Since the grass isn't really growing this time of year, it doesn't have a ton of nutrients, so I always like to just give them a little bit extra. And then of course I have to open up their water every day. With only 2 horses, I find it's just a lot easier to break the ice off their water and top them off with some buckets every day, instead of trying to keep one of our automatic drinkers from freezing. So I am headed out to the main cow herd right now, and I thought while I was taking the tractor back there, I would just explain a little bit about how we manage our cows through the wintertime. We mostly unroll hay through these winter months. There's a couple reasons why we choose to unroll hay. We didn't always do it this way, but we feel like unrolling it's just a much cleaner way to feed the cattle, and then it makes sure that all the little babies can get to the hay too. When we used to feed only in rings, the mama cows would crowd the rings, and it didn't seem like the babies were ever getting enough. But in Missouri, there's a few challenges to unrolling hay, and that's the weather. We get a lot of freezing days like today, but then we get a lot of warm days too. So the ground does not stay frozen all year long. So ideally, if you're unrolling hay, you want the ground to be frozen so that way the hay stays nice and clean and the cattle don't make the pastures overly muddy. We also found that unrolling hay really is beneficial to the pastures if you do it correctly. And to do it correctly, you have to move the cattle around a lot and unroll the bales in different areas, but don't overdo any one particular area. So today, because the ground is frozen and they won't make a huge impact on the pasture, I'm going to move the cows to a pasture that we did soil samples on last spring. And this pasture needs a lot of fertility. Every time the ground is frozen this winter, we're going to try to move the cows to that field and just unroll hay, and then that way we can try to get a lot of natural fertility down this winter through the bale unrolling and the cattle just being out there fertilizing it as they go. But in true Missouri fashion, we have a couple days of frozen weather, and then they're already saying it's going to be back up to the 50s by the end of the week. So we're only going to be able to bale graze this field for a few days because it will turn to a muddy, sloppy mess if we keep them out here. But for now, while the ground is frozen, I'm going to go ahead and move these cows onto a new field and then set up for bale grazing. My dad also wanted to take advantage of the frozen ground and get another load of hay back here before the ground thaws, so that way we have plenty of hay to feed our cattle in this area. So while he's unloading that, I'm going to go ahead and get this field set up for bale grazing. While setting this field up, I had to document how much our chicken tractors helped this field all summer long. So where you see those dark green strips of grass is where our chicken tractors came through over the summertime. We raise meat chickens on our farm, and we raise them in portable tractors, so we move them forward to fresh grass every day. After our soil samples this past spring showing that this field needed a lot of extra fertility, we decided to put our chicken tractors on this field all summer long, and you can really see the difference. So hopefully between the chicken tractors coming through over the summertime and now bale grazing the cattle here this winter, we can really move the needle on fertility in a natural way out here on this field. So now that that field is all set up for them, we are going to call them off of this pasture that we have them on currently and bring them to this fresh area of the farm. This field they're coming off of is one that we sort of use all winter long when the weather gets muddy or sloppy. We just pull them back onto that field so that way we don't ruin any of our other pasture ground. And then this spring, when we turn them out for grazing, we will till up that pasture and plant something out there like a summer annual that they can graze on the summertime. We found that just using one field as a sacrifice area really helps keep the rest of the fields nice and clean and ready for spring grazing. Rolling out hay like this really mimics a natural grazing situation for the cattle, and we have noticed a lot of benefits when we started feeding our cattle this way during the winter months. It's just much more natural for them. They seem to waste less hay, and also it's a better system for the babies to get adequate hay during the winter months as well. So this is one of those management practices that we switched up the way we are doing things, and it has really helped us to manage our herd more easily through the winter months. I know I'm not the only one who gets a little bit bummed out in the wintertime by the amount of time that we have to spend inside just due to the fact of the weather is so cold. It's hard, especially with little kids, to get outside every day and spend a lot of time out there. And it just gets dark so much earlier. So this is definitely the time of year I spend more time in my kitchen, just leaning into learning new skills and experimenting with new recipes. So this afternoon, once all the chores were done, I came back inside and decided to make a Salisbury steak recipe. This is something my mom made all the time when we were growing up, and I always loved this meal, especially in the wintertime, served over gravy and mashed potatoes. It's just such a comforting and cozy meal on these colder winter days. I don't love spending a ton of time in my kitchen, and when it's daylight outside, I always just feel the need to be outside, but there's something about these colder and dark days that just gives me the itch to spend a little more time in the kitchen. It is refreshing after a long spring, summer, and fall where we are so busy on the farm to just slow down for a season and really embrace some time inside in my home and making nourishing meals for my family. It's especially great when we have some some root vegetables stored away from the garden, and a freezer full of meat that we worked hard to raise all year long. Being able to create a meal with those staple ingredients raised on our farm is so rewarding, and it's something in the summer months I don't take a ton of time to create these sort of meals for my family. I just make a quick meat and a vegetable. So wintertime is a great time of year for me to just slow down and really experiment in the kitchen using all of this nutrient dense food that we worked so hard to raise on our farm. I look out my window and I see a garden that has been put to bed for the winter time. All of the plants are brown and the cover crop has frozen over and died out. Our pastures are dormant and they no longer have that vibrant green color as they did before. The cattle spend most of their time lowing throughout the day as they rest with their baby calves by their side, eating just enough to maintain their body weight and stay warm through these winter days. I am reminded that this season is crucial for the land and livestock. It is a time for the pastures to get a much needed rest to restore its root system and to store up energy underground so that it is able to bounce back in the springtime when temperatures start rising again. This new rhythm is also crucial for most farmers. We need a time of rest and relaxation after a long year, and the shorter days demand that. Most farmers spend their days outside from sunup to sundown, so this season brings us inside earlier, just enjoying our homes and preparing for the next growing season. Wintertime is generally an enjoyable time of year for me because I really fall into that rhythm of go, go, go in the spring and summer months, so I look forward to this time to slow down a bit. I enjoy it for a couple months, but usually by the end of winter, I am looking forward to the hustle of spring and summer again. I look forward to sharing more with you guys with what's going on around the farm this winter season. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next week.